Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gamer Dad channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. So today, I'm going to go ahead and emphasize a little bit more on a game mode that is not necessarily the most spoken about in a sense as a game mode. We don't usually refer to this part of the game as a game mode, but it is actually a huge portion of the time you're going to spend in Tom Clancy's The Division 2. In fact, even more time than The Division 1 allowed for, and that is your inventory management. This is a huge deal. This is a big deal in the game because it allows for you to be able to sort out what you feel is the best gear, the best items that basically suit your playstyle. Now, here are a few things. First of all, what you want to do is you want to get yourself in a position where you can churn out as many gear drops as possible. You can use specific missions that are short in order to do it. You can go around the open world using control points that have the targeted loot system that is actually going to be giving the items you're looking for, because targeted loot rocks. And so this is one of the biggest changes in the game that really did make farming a little less tasking. So you can use this as one of your weapons to be able to get basically the items that you need. And so I basically recommend this. I highly recommend these systems. You can also go into the Dark Zone if you really want to kind of run around, get some Dark Zone XP, and also churn out a lot of gear. The Dark Zone does provide, in my opinion, one of the highest means of acquiring gear items, because in taking down enemy NPCs, taking down the little checkpoints or the DZ landmarks, you're able to basically get yourself a lot of items. Now here is a challenge nonetheless. When it comes time to extract that gear, you better hope that there aren't a lot of people that are there just to come and make your life miserable. Or you better hope that you're not in a situation where somebody, sees you running around the Dark Zone and just decides that they're going to be on your case, thereby making the efficiency of farming kind of really weird. Anyways, if you look very closely at items in terms of the best gear, you basically want to first prioritize items that have the max roll or items that you don't necessarily have. So if you think about it, this item is a mask. It's the Foundry Bulwark mask. I think it's one of the only ones that I have. So I've basically just gone ahead to keep it. It's not the best Foundry Bulwark mask that I can get, but if I want a better one, I could go farm for masks, or I could go to an area where Foundry Bulwark is actually, dropping right now. But what's crazy is I think when I looked at the targeted loot, Foundry Bulwark is dropping in this stronghold in Manning National Zoo, which is a very long mission, and I don't think I'm gonna play it, just to get Foundry Bulwark items. But if I was in a pinch, it'll probably be my best option. You could put it on, whatever difficulty you feel is actually good for you, and you can pretty much go that direction. That's something that you can do. Another thing that you can do is also look for items, and as you're finding them, make sure that you're saving, at the back of your mind anyways, that you have kind of an idea of what it is that you're looking for, but still not necessarily being quick to destroy everything. So if you look very closely at, this is from my Dark Zone, runs, I have a lot of items in here that I actually kind of max rolled, and I haven't necessarily whipped them out to work with them. And I wish I would just remember sometimes to do it, but I do have a lot of really good items in here, and I haven't necessarily found use for them. But in the time or in the pinch where I probably need to put something new together that I want to start experimenting on, this really makes the big difference for me to be able to take out these items and work on them. Also, the Dark Zone has a few items that are not necessarily available around the open world, unless maybe you get a DZ cache, and these can actually grant you, some of those items, like the Claws Out holster. This is a Wyvern holster. That's a little different. It comes with pistol damage. It also comes with melee damage, and it also gives you kind of an attribute that you can work with. So you can basically roll whatever you want to roll on there. You can roll duration or whatever kind of skill you want to run with. Some people use the a holster like this in order to run some really interesting melee builds. And then you also have some of the Yaw gear, which is something that does help with hazard protection, grants weapon damage, and is also kind of, in a way, if you can use 3 pieces that you find, you can run some really interesting build combinations with it. So considering the brand sets, considering the items, considering the rolls and the drops, and considering where you can farm these items from is a really big deal. Now, in order not to bore you with all that, for those of you who are new, I'll tell you my own farming philosophy. One of the very best things that I have noticed that helps to gather and garner gear is doing the legendary missions. I enjoy doing the legendary mission under District Union Arena. The reason I prefer District Union is because it does provide some sort of an error-proof setting. So what I mean by that is, because of the way the mission structure and the way the level is designed, or the levels or sub-levels within a mission, it reduces the room for error, and it provides some sort of a much easier run through any of the legendary missions compared to the others. Now, granted, capital building is the shortest in terms of number of encounters, but the way the sub-level designs are, if you're going in with match-made teams, you're not going to get the best benefit from it, because those match-made teams may make errors that will cost you a lot of time, and even in some cases, they may cause you to wipe. And this is, in my opinion, sometimes just not a good way to farm when it comes to some max rolled gear, because for some strange reason, I think the developers may have silently increased the quality of items dropping in legendary, and this is why I'm recommending it from the mission perspective, and this is just my own, preference. You also can do the Roosevelt Island legendaries, but this is a very long mission. The way it's designed, levels are open, enemy NPCs can make mince out of you, or if you want to kind of just, stick with it, you go with a team and you guys take your time and churn through it. They also provide the weekly runs, and this is why I'm recommending them. The weekly runs basically allow for them to be able to reset. This week, the weekly run was actually designated to Capitol Building, District Union Arena, and I've already done my legendary here on my PC account, so I can't get the reward, which is basically an exotic cache. So that's also another way to be able to kind of stack up on your exotics. Some people will recommend the summit if you're at level 40, which legendary also means that you're at level 40 as well. So by the way, caveat, if you're watching this video and you're level 30, this is not going to be available to you. The legendary is designated only for level 40 players. And so you can run the summit, but I don't like running the summit, even though I know you can actually go to the summit and you can actually customize your targeted loot. This is probably better than my own strategy. But again, it's something where I'm not necessarily a big fan of those objectives. But with a little bit of patience, you can pretty much get yourself in a position where you have a channeled loot drop system. And if you can find a team and matchmake with other people, that's also something that really does help, because you can customize your targeted loot and you could just run floors until you get the items that you need. Now, the inventory management piece is where you kind of come to the position where you say, okay, I don't necessarily, or might not necessarily have the gear that I want in terms of every specific item. So how do I go about getting myself to that position? The idea is that you're going to start in a progressive way to start maximizing your gear little by little. And this kind of gear management and basically, makes it almost mandatory that you are very skilled at understanding what your inventory is. So my recommendation is, if you're new, you go through all of the items and see what already suits your playstyle. And in a sense, you have to be somewhat tunnel visioned while you're at the same time being wise and prudent, so you don't throw away items that you might need later on for other builds, which and then, will take you again to go farm again, which is basically this mini game mode that I'm telling you guys about, which is in the game that people don't necessarily talk about, but it's there. Because right now, if you notice, I have 145 items basically in my backpack, which actually is after I've done a lot of cleaning out, and my stash has 274 items, which I actually have to do some really interesting clean out. And this is just my main character. If I log into my other characters, they are full of gear that is level 40, max rolled, different brand sets, different gear sets, and I just didn't want to throw them away because I didn't want to get to a position where I needed them again. So with your inventory management, you really have to be somewhat organized. Now here's the thing, the development of this game and the developers kind of know and understand this. And so if you're not necessarily getting into spreadsheet territory, then it gets to the point where you're just going to be running all these things off your mind. And this is going to continue to bring this consistent replayability of the game in a sense. It may be annoying, it may be frustrating for some, but I think this is what the development of the game is about. This is what makes The Division some sort of a perpetually, recurring game in terms of that gameplay loop. There are many things to do, yes, or not enough for some people, but this is one aspect of the game that nobody tells you about, but just really eats up a bunch of your time. And here's the thing, as much as we always ask for, new brand sets and, different items and all of that, these only add more to all of that. So with new brand sets come new capabilities, or come something that may be distinct from everything that's already in existence. And so this allows for people to even play more and more of the game. I can guarantee you that many of you have spent just inordinate amounts of time just looking at your inventory and making sure that it's up to a place where you actually like it, or you even spend some time just, basically having to manage and scrap some things that you might need later on, and you'll regret them, because once you scrap them, you're going to be in a position where it's like, man, darn it, I needed that mod, but I just didn't have any room to get this gun that I was looking for 2 months ago. So all of these things make for these, awesome aspects, which, in my opinion anyways, could be a turn off for some people, but for some, we embrace it as it goes. For me, it's hard. I'm a hoarder. For some people, they could just scrap the item and be like, you know what, if I ever get to needing it, maybe I'll find it, maybe not. And to them, that's an aspect of the game. So if you're new to the Division, or if you're a veteran, you know this, but for those of you who are new, I would say master the inventory system in the sense of understanding what the different brand sets are able to do for you, and understand that whenever you find an item, even though it may not be an item that you need, it may be an item that you need in the future. So don't be quick to throw them away. Be very savvy, and also don't put yourself in a position where you're hoarding as well. So this balance is something that you would teach yourself over the course of the game. For me, how I avoid it, I basically go and start the game on a whole brand new account. And then at that point, it's like, I don't have to worry about the things I have. I just have to worry about trying to get things that would work on a whole different character. This is why I've ended up with 4 different accounts for the Division 2. And my shade level is not 1000 on any of them, because it's a combination of all kinds of weird stuff. I'll probably log into that other account and once in a while, and I'll just show you guys everything about my shade level so that you guys will see. But that's pretty much the end of this video. I just wanted to go ahead and just highlight this, because I think it's really interesting that we don't necessarily talk about this too much anymore, especially at this point of the game. We used to talk about it a lot before, when the game was much more active. But now that we've reached this part of the game, I guess maybe because there's not new content, so it doesn't necessarily spur up these conversations. But new players coming in, you're asking some really interesting questions, asking, where do I go? How do I find some of these items? And so I feel like these conversations would be very beneficial for you. Talk to you guys in another video. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you guys so much. Peace out.